Okay, so let's get started. Everyone, welcome to the Healthcare Career Summit. I'm Dr. Paolo Varquez. I'm the Career Services Specialist, and I'm also a counselor here at Coastline. So I'll go over some of the I'll go over the event, so that way we know what's expecting throughout the day. And we also integrated some breaks in there, knowing that that's very important, especially for Zoom events. So in the beginning, we will introduce ourselves. So, all the event organizers, our wonderful faculty, and our transfer center is helping out for this event. And are going to have some special guests that will be joining us. So we have our deans, and then our president of the college will say a few words. So between 9:15 to 9:55 a.m. is going to be a panel for how to have a competitive application. And we have very strong schools here with various programs. And a lot of you are doing your prereqs here at Coastline, or some of you are in the beginning, and it's a struggle. Many of you are probably feeling that struggle right now. And all I gotta say is, once you go through that struggle of having to apply to different places, once you get in the program, that's the easy part. So we'll also we'll put them into breakout rooms, so then you could talk to each of them individually. And so we'll include breaks in there as well. So between 10:15 and 10:40, we'll have a Coastline alumni panel. And it's really important to hear the perspective of those that have recently completed their programs with us and now doing different things. After that, from 10:45 to 11:25 a.m., we're going to have an expert panel session that Dr. Henry will be facilitating with various different occupations here. We'll also put breakout rooms in there as well for you to be able to go around and talk to different individuals. Between 11:40 to 11:55, we're going to have the pre-med club, work experience education, and STEM scholars here, providing you information more about that. And then 5 minutes on closing and feedback. And I will put the link of the summit on the chat for you to kind of go around, because if you actually click on one of these names, you could actually send them an email and contact them. So really the importance of networking, and we will talk about networking for the panel sessions and the importance of it, because it's very common for students to ask their professors that they barely know for 3 months for a letter of recommendation. So we'll touch on that. And by filling out the feedback form, you'll also receive a $20 Amazon gift card at the event. So I'll send these links at the bottom. Okay, so first let's start off by introducing all the event organizers, and we'll go in order just to make it easy for everyone. So hi again, everyone. I'm Dr. Paolo Varquez. I'm the Career Services Specialist and the Career Education Counselor. And I'll pass it on to Helen.
Hi, thank you so much, Paulo. Hello, my name is Helen Ward. I'm the Transfer Center Coordinator here at Coastline College. I provide transfer services for you, our Coastline students, desiring to transfer to four-year universities. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Dr. Foss.
Yeah, sure. So hi, my name is Steve Foss. I am a professor of biological sciences and allied health. I teach a few of the classes that a lot of you will be needing for prerequisites, including microbiology, biochemistry, and genetics.
Hi, my name is Ila Farhat. I'm a professor in the nutrition department, so I teach all the nutrition classes, which a lot of pre-med students take as a prerequisite. Also oversee the Certified Dietary Management Program, and I'm also a registered dietitian.
Hello, I'm Dr. Daniel Salcedo. I'm also a faculty member here at Coastline College. I mainly teach microbiology and physiology, among some other classes as well. And I'm also the faculty advisor for the pre-med club.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Debbie Henry. I'm a physician by training. I've practiced for 26 years. I've been at Coastline since 2007, full-time since 2012. And I'm a professor of anatomy and physiology. So I teach anatomy, physiology, intro to anatomy and physiology, and pathophysiology. Welcome.
Awesome. Yeah, we have really good professors and faculty here, and definitely reach out. A lot of times students think it's scary to reach their professors, but we have really good professors here, and they're all willing to really help you get to that next phase. So, okay. So next up, we're gonna have we have some of our special guests here who will be saying hi, introducing themselves, and saying a few words. We'll start off with Dean Schoenfeld.
Good morning. My name is Natalie Schoenfeld. I serve as the Dean of Counseling here at Coastline and just want to welcome you all to today's summit. Thanks for having me.
Morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Tom Neal. I am the Dean of Instruction for the Sciences and Arts and Math. So welcome to all of you. You are in for a treat. You have some incredible professors and panels that Dr. Varquez has put together. I hope you notice the broad spectrum of professors we have here at Coastline and hope you take advantage of the incredible expertise they are willing and very willing to share with you. Have an incredibly good day. Former students who were in this summit just came away with lots of ideas and lots of hope for their future. So good luck to all of you and keep working hard.
And happy birthday, Dean Neal. It's his birthday today.
Thank you.
So, hello, I'm Dr. Vince Rodriguez, president of the college. My doctorate's in education, so I'm not able to help with the health-related fields. I'll throw that out there, especially in this area. But I agree with what Dr. Neal was just sharing. These summits are fantastic, and I'm so proud to have the team that we have here at Coastline. People that have worked in the field, have had careers in the field, are still involved on a regular basis in what's happening in the different fields and the different disciplines. And that's one of the great things about community colleges, that the faculty members that we have either have been or continue to be working actively in those areas. Very few schools would have some of the faculty that we have with the experience they have. So I hope you find that very helpful. I know it's been very informative for me, and also the networking opportunities you have. So I want to thank everyone that put this together for our students. And students, I hope you have a great day. I'll be sticking around for a little while, but then I'll be going on to another college event. So have a great St. Patrick's Day and have a great weekend.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. And I know special guests, they're busy doing other things as well. So really appreciate the time for you to take in the day to say hi and come in. So thank you for that. Awesome. So the next part will be the panel session. And we do recommend for the students here, feel free to use the chat. If you have any questions or any comments or like inspired, you might be inspired by some of these stories, feel free to put down in chat. We really want to hear that from you, and we encourage participation on the chat. So we are a little bit early, which is good. So better to be early than we go over time. So for this part of the summits, we're going to transition it over to Helen Ward, who will talk about who will facilitate the panel for how to have a competitive application.
Thank you so much. Welcome, Coastline Allied Health Science students, to this session on how to have a competitive application. As mentioned, my name is Helen Ward. I'm the Transfer Center Coordinator here at Coastline and this session's facilitator. We brought together 5 professionals to you who will introduce themselves. Students, feel free to ask your questions in the chat. There will be time toward the end for Q&A. So, hello, Agesha Lanier. Please introduce yourself. Briefly tell us about your institution, organization, and what you do for your institution organization.
Good morning, everyone. Agesha Lanier. I am with Kaiser Permanente Bernard J. Tyson School of Medicine, and we opened our doors in July of 2020. We are really, really happy this year. We are actually going to have our first class graduate. Actually, today we are having our first match day, which is a very big ceremony. So I'm literally leaving this panel right after that to go directly to the match day. And just a lot of firsts this year, but really happy to be here on the panel. And I can't wait to tell you more about the school.
Thank you so much, Agesha. Thank you. And what an exciting day there at Kaiser. We have next here is has Hetty Ha from UC Irvine. Is she here? And if
Good morning, everyone. Hello. Hi, Helen. Hello, everyone. My name is Hetty Ha, and I am the Assistant Director of UCI School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences PharmD program. Thank you so much for having me. So our school, excitedly, we were founded in the School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences was founded in 2020, but prior to that, we had a long-standing undergraduate program over a decade in pharmaceutical sciences. And so we had this vision and this timeline to build upon an undergraduate degree. We were the first pharmaceutical sciences bachelor's of science major in California at the time when we started. And then we built on to develop our graduate programs, including a master's, a PhD program, eventually our PharmD program. And so when our PharmD program came into fruit, then our school, we officially became a school at that time in 2020. And so right now, we are, so right now we are in our third cohort, and our first inaugural class is expected to graduate next year. So we're really excited. But I am so excited, Geisha, you talked about match day. So yay, that reminds me. I got to send some congratulations and encouragement emails to some of my pre-med students. But anyways, I'm the assistant director of this program in student affairs, and I work with current and incoming pharmacy students. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hetty. And again, more celebrations in store. Jeremiah Yang from USC.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Jeremiah. I am the admissions counselor too for the USC Physician Assistant Program. So our program, just to share a little bit about it, we're a primary care program, and we're really focused on serving marginalized communities and individuals from diverse backgrounds. So that's really the focus of our program, and we really hope that our graduates, they go into primary care to be able to bridge those health inequities that we see in our society. So just a little bit about me and a little bit about the program. It's nice to meet all of you.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. And again, other very important aspects here about healthcare to ensure equity and healthcare for all. Thank you so much, Jeremiah. Michelle Schwartz.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle, and I'm from Cal State Fullerton in our School of Nursing, and I represent all of our pre-licensure BSN programs. So we take students straight out of high school, we take transfer students, we take students who already have a bachelor's degree in something else and get them started on their nursing journey, and then hopefully as registered nurses do the board of registered nursing. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And next, Henny Hamlin. Excuse me, Henny.
You got it, Helen. It's okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Henny Halim. I am the Senior Associate Director for Graduate Admissions for the Nursing and the Healthcare Program here at Concordia University, Irvine. In the School of Health and Human Sciences, we do offer multiple nursing program and graduate degree in nursing and public health and healthcare administration. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Henny, so much for joining us. I have two comprehensive questions to ask our distinguished panelists, and their answers will help you, our health science majors, decide on potential career paths and which schools or organizations to apply. So let's begin. Tell us about your program and what sets it apart from other programs. Agesha, please lead us.
Well, we are a school that is not connected to a university, so that is very unique there. We also will say that we do not have lectures. We teach our students in case-based small group discussions. We're connected to Kaiser Permanente, so that's a difference there. And a couple of other things. We do teach our students anatomy we do not have a cadaver lab. Our students learn via virtual reality. Also, we have a really beautiful anatomy resource center that has human specimens that are called plastinets, that our students are also using. Those plastinets are designed to stay with us for up to 30 years. So intact. However, if our student wants to have that experience in a cadaver lab, they can do that in their third or fourth year during electives. And we are a small school. So if you are looking for a smaller school that will be there for you, and you will definitely know all of your classmates, I would say this is the school for you.
Wow, fascinating. Thank you so much, Agasha. Hetty Hall, please tell us about your program at UC Irvine.
Thank you so much. So our program, even though it's fairly new, we're the first public institution in California that is serving Orange County and also LA County regions. Our cohort is intended to intentionally be small, and so every year, in terms of our admissions, we admit about 60, close to 60 students, but it's intentionally small to keep that faculty and that student ratio smaller, so that we do know the names of all our students in our program, and we value that. But also, we have a very unique interprofessional education with the student, Susan Henry Samueli College of Health Sciences, where our students learn a lot about, in addition to pharmacy practice, holistic care, because we want them to be ready in any discipline after they graduate. And so it's really unique, where we have we have created a learning kitchen inside our facility. It's this beautiful, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, I'm so excited about it, because when I go into that learning kitchen, I feel like I'm on Food Network. There's cameras and all these beautiful KitchenAids everywhere, but the unique thing about it is, what does food have anything to do with pharmacy school? Well, food is medicine. You have to think of it that way, and so our pharmacists are learning to be healthcare clinicians, in terms of, if they eat healthy, they're going to make recommendations to their students to eat healthy as well. So we have a chef that teaches them how to take care of themselves, as well as their patients. And that's just some of it in interprofessional, but our students also get to have clinical practice experiences with nursing students and our medical students on campus, as well as all the students rotate through our UCS Medical Center as well. And so I can go on, but as you can see, I'm really excited and proudful of our program.
Yes, that should be. Thank you so much, Eddie. I'll have a new, now broader perspective of the Food Network based upon what you shared. So thank you so much. This is great, connecting food. Yeah, fantastic. Jeremiah Yang, what about at USC?
Yeah, so once again, I think it really goes back to our mission statement of being able to serve marginalized communities. And so we're really committed to that mission for our graduates and for our current students. So what I think is really cool about the USCPA program is there's two main extracurriculars that students can be involved in. One is called the Trojan Trainer Program, where students are paired with a mentor. And this mentor is someone who's experiencing homelessness. So they're able to go out in interdisciplinary teams and talk with these individuals, learn from these individuals on how they navigate, healthcare. How do you seek resources? How do you find resources as a quote unquote non-traditional patient population, right? So for a lot of our students, that's a really eye-opening experience, and it's a really amazing experience for those that choose to participate. Another one of our extracurriculars that really sets our program apart is the Pre-PA Pathways program. And so our students volunteer in this program. They, a lot of it is student-led. So they put on workshops for students from marginalized backgrounds and communities close to our campus, and being able to provide these students and their families with just more education on what a career in healthcare can look like, provide them with just seeing how higher education in general can be a path towards success, and how that can benefit their families and their communities. And I think it's a really amazing experience for our students to be a part of, to make real tangible change for communities and for different families. And so I would say those are two things. Another thing just to throw in there is our program does also have medical Spanish integrated into the curriculum. That's just by virtue of being in Los Angeles, knowing who our patient populations are, and once again being there to bridge that gap, being there so that no matter who walks into your door, or through your door that you'll be able to serve them and speak their language and take care of them.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. Again, for enlightening all of us here too with the medicine PA program and how it connects not only with the individual and their families, but also with the community. Thank you so much. Michelle Schwartz, CSU Fullerton's nursing program.
Yes. So, as many of you may know, nursing is highly impacted in the state of California, but we do accept, every year a fall cohort for our transfer students, as well as our accelerated, which is for students who already have a bachelor's in something else and are looking to make a career change. Our tuition is the regular Cal State tuition right now. It's about $3,500 per semester. Nursing does not cost any extra. And our programs are 2 to 3 years in length. And in that time, you get all of the clinical that is required, all of the GE that is required to sit for your licensing exam and get your bachelor's of science in nursing. And while we don't do career placement after, none of our students have ever had a hard time getting a position since nurses are in such high demand. We also partner on campus with our communication studies students, as well as our kinesiology students for sports medicine. And then off campus, right across the street, actually, we have a school of optometry that we partner with as well, so that our students are kind of getting all different areas since nursing can cover so much. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle, and also for helping us too to understand the various areas and field that nurses can, optometry or ophthalmology, as well. So thank you so much there at Cal State Fullerton. Henny Hallam, please tell us about Concordia.
Good morning again. For Concordia, I work primarily with the Accelerated BSN program. It is an accelerated program geared toward two populations. We recently just added an admissions pathway to that. So you either coming in that already completed your bachelor's degree in any field and completion of the prereq classes, or you coming in with a minimum of 65 units and your GE completed. And it is a pre-licensed program. The Concordia Irvine nursing program have a philosophy with Dr. Jean Watson, the philosophy of caring. We do have a very tight knit as far as the faculty. The ratio between faculty and students is about roughly 1 to 8 to 10 for clinical. And you will finish this salaried program 15th month. Once you get accepted in the program, it is a 15-month from your first day of classes to your graduations. And when we do mean accelerated, it is accelerated. Do not expect any summer break, if you will. It is a continuous 4 semesters program. Once you complete it, you get your licensings and you are off for registered nursing. So hopefully practicing at that time. We do have a very high NCLEX passing rate. I am kind of biasedly probably to say that we never go down below 92% on the NCLEX passing rate. So again, it's me biased and very proud of it.
Thank you so much, and as you should be. And thank you so much for bringing us and our students the private school. So very happy to have both USC and Concordia University as our private university partners, as well as UC Irvine, Cal State Fullerton, and Kaiser Permanente's school. So thank you very much. So now we're on to the final third question, and we might need to pick it up a little bit so we have time toward the end for Q&A from our students. So the final question: what criteria or factors make for competitive application for your programs? Is it going to be the GPA? Are you looking for specific major courses, volunteer or work experience, awards, or essays on the application? So Geisha, please start us off.
I was just typing away. I'm going to say all of those things, all of those factors. We are looking at everything from at Kaiser Permanente. We are using a holistic approach to evaluate our applicants. We do not have a minimum GPA requirement or a minimum MCAT score requirement. I'm not saying that metrics do not matter, because they most certainly do, but you are more than just your metrics. We are going to be looking at your personal statement. We're going to be looking at your activities, and activities could be a range of shadowing or volunteering or being a leader in, one of your clubs and organizations. We are looking for maturity. We are looking for, distance traveled. We're looking at everything. So that's just to name a few. I know some of my colleagues are probably going to say the same thing, so I wanted to leave something for them.
Thank you, Geisha. Yes, Hetty at UC Irvine's School of Pharmacy.
So we do have a recommended GPA of a 3.0, but we certainly have considered and offered admissions to some applicants with a GPA slightly below. But in general, the average GPA for matriculation falls between between a 3.2 to about a 3.6. So it varies. But one of the things that I know that a lot of pre-health students thinks a lot of is about prerequisites in terms of like what kind of prerequisites I need, what kind of GPA I need. And I just want to be very frank about prerequisites in terms of even though you're applying to one pharmacy school, you might notice that there'll be variable differences in admissions requirements with other pharmacy schools. And you're wondering, well, I'm going to pharmacy school. So why all the difference? Why is the variance? And so the answer is that the most important point is our curriculums are different. And so even though we all have a standard of meeting the ACPE accreditation requirements, but our curriculum is different. And so therefore, we want all our students to come into the program foundation ready. So don't think about those prerequisites as a way to weed out any students. We want you to be prepared. And so just make sure that you're looking at our admissions requirements and making sure that that you're meeting them, because you don't want to start pharmacological economics and never had macro and microeconomics, right? You try saying that 10 times, that tongue twister is going to be real fun. But in general, it's a holistic admissions. In addition to academic courses, of course, we also evaluate what you've done. So one of the things that I notice that students don't do is that they don't really provide admissions with a full spectrum of what they've done with their life aside from academics. If you worked, put in that you worked. If you volunteered, put that in, because we really want to try to get to know you, especially if we see some inconsistencies in your academic record. We want to get to know you. So make sure you do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hetty. And thank you for bringing in more, again, to the forefront here about the holistic application approach. Now, how about Jeremiah Yang at USC?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just to reiterate a lot of what my colleagues are saying, yes, holistic approach I think is more commonplace now, especially for application reviews. So we're not just looking at your GPA, we're not just looking at your metrics, but we're reviewing you in your entirety, right? In terms of what you're presenting to us in your application. So I'm going to drop a link in the chat box, but this has a couple of the criteria that our team is looking at. You'll notice on that website, it talks about averages. One really important thing to note about averages is if you're above the average, it's not a guarantee of admissions. If you're below the average, don't be discouraged, because, there might be other parts of your application that really do stand out. Two things I would say, though, is mission alignment. So I know I've talked about mission in both of my responses to the previous questions, but mission is really important. It's the heartbeat of what we do at the USCPA program. So for our faculty, for our staff, our students, mission it's ultimate. It's everything, right? It's really, really important to what we do. So think about, how do you align with the mission, right? What experiences, volunteer, clinical, anything. What have you done that aligns with the mission? Talk about it, write about it, make sure that that point gets across. I would say that's one thing that's really important. The second thing that's really important is being genuine, right? A lot of applicants might ask, hey, what volunteer experiences should I do? Hey, what, should I do this? Should I do that? Right? I would say what's really important is to do what you're passionate about. Think about what you really do care about, right? And, and hopefully by doing what you really care about, then you'll find the program that fits with you, right? Just because we're USC doesn't mean that, this has to be the PA program that you come to, right? There's a lot of programs out there with a lot of different focuses. So make sure that you're applying to the program that really aligns with your personal values, just as much as you're trying to, we're trying to pick the right students, you should also be trying to pick the right program for you.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah. Please, Michelle Schwartz at Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah, that's just like Jeremiah said, same. There's so many nursing programs, and you should go with what fits you best. For us, we do have minimum GPA. I put our selection criteria in the chat. Our minimum GPA is a 3.25, and there are standard prerequisites for all nursing programs in the CSU as well. So we, like most of our others here, do holistic. So we are looking at if you have proficiency in another language other than English, you are doing an essay, we have an interview process as well. And that's mostly because nursing, like many of these other fields, it's great to be book smart, but you're working with real people in real tough situations. Most situations at the hospital, for example, aren't super pleasant. So, you need to be able to be that well-rounded nurse to be able to support your patients in sometimes their roughest times. So that is why we look holistically, not just at GPA. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Henny Allen from Concordia.
I think at this point we all will agree with everybody's in the counterpart that it is a holistic process. Concordia does have a minimum cumulative GPA at 325. Again, doesn't mean that if you have below that should be discouraged from applying or even give it a try, because we do look at everything. The admissions committee members look at your academic profile, they look at your letters of reference, they look at your essays. You the opportunity if you think, you know what, I think my essay is my cumulative GPA is a bit low. Please just explain that in that statement of intent. If you don't explain it, honestly, we won't be able to know the reason behind it. There's so many multiple reasons behind it. So again, don't be discouraged if you have that lower than 325. The set of prereq classes, we do have a set of those prereq classes. We do require a minimum of 100 hours of patient care experience. Most of Concordia students coming in already with CNA license, home health, L, PTA, that will be part of that hours as well. In addition to your academic profile, we do have an interviews. In that interviews, it is your opportunity to tell us a little bit more about you beyond your GPA, beyond your papers, if you will, for the lack of a better word. So that is when we admissions committee will look at you as a whole, not just on a paper, not just in interviews, but everything together. We accept up to 64 per cohort out of roughly 200 to 250 per cohort, and Concordia accept 3 times a year, spring, summer, and fall.
Thank you. Well, thank you. It's valuable. I've been seeing questions in the chat, and our panelists have been answering and just providing just great wealth of information there and internet web links, for all of us, for our resources. I want to thank the panelists, all of you, for sharing ways our students can build competitive applications and highlighting your programs so they can choose the allied health programs for them. I also want to share that the Transfer Center is available to all students with help on your application. We have a wonderful working relationship with all the schools here to work with them on either the Common App, the UC application, or the CSU application as well. So you have a rich resource here, students, to contact the Transfer Center to get that help. Also, I'm on lots of the, almost all the notices or announcements when each of these campuses have workshops on application, how to complete them, also to help keep you on track. So let's open it up to Q&A from our students. And also, we'll still be checking the chat, okay? So Paolo, I want to turn it back to you if you'd like to open it up for the students to ask, either turn on their mic or ask through chat, if that's available.
Yeah, for the students that are here, feel free to put your questions on the chat or just say it out loud. I did have a question for the panel as people are kind of thinking about that? Because I know I meet with students who are very like, they're concerned about low GPA, but I don't want to, they don't want, then they really want to become, let's say, a medical doctor or physician. And of course, we don't want to break their dreams, right? So I'm wondering for those students, tell them to stay persistent, but I'm wondering what is the best move that those students with low GPA could do? Some people go through post-bac, some people take just more classes to increase their GPA, but I'm wondering, what do you all think is the best way to tell that student?
I can start if that's okay. I'll start because we have a pretty strict, our minimum GPA of 3.25, we do not accept or even look at applications below that. So we're probably the harshest here. So, but we do like to offer, the good news with nursing is that there are so many options regardless of your past academics. While we have that requirement, nursing exists at the CSU, the UC, the private, and the community colleges. And it all leads to the same place, which is a licensure in California, the RN. So we always recommend for students who aren't meeting our GPA requirement to go to the Board of Registered Nursing website, which I'll put in the chat, and they show a list of every nursing program in the state of California. And you can go through and see what's near you or where you're willing to drive or live for a couple years. And not only can you see their NCLEX pass rates, but you can visit their websites and look at their requirements. Some programs work off of a lottery admission system. So, someone with a 2.5 has just as much of a chance of getting in as someone with a 3.5 or a 4.0. So we definitely recommend lottery systems for those students on the lower end of GPA, while others are based on merit. And so obviously, if you have a higher GPA, you're more likely to get in at a merit-based program. So the good news is there is a lot of options. We're very lucky to have so many nursing schools in California and so many just within Orange County as well, that there is always going to be an option for a student regardless of their grades for nursing.
May I add? Thank you. So I'm going to put on my pre-health advisor hat because I was a pre-health advisor for 14 years before situating in my role. And I also was a director of a post-bac program, but for pre-med. So this is the point where I tell students, pause for a minute and let's look at your schedule. Because what are factors that are going on in your life that are preventing you from excelling in the core science courses that you need to excel? So if you're working full time or part time, or you're handling a very strong core science load this quarter, is it a good idea to add volunteer service, another job, all these other extracurricular activities? You need to reassess where you are. And then, of course, for the students that are on a pathway to transfer to a four-year institution, think of it this way. You need to show progression. You need to show that you're also able to handle the rigors of an upper division curriculum to show that, sure, there's some of these classes that I may have taken very early on in my years, and I struggled a little bit because I was adapting. But now you're progressing. You're in a four-year institution. You need to show that progression. Repeats. How do they look on your transcript? You can have some, but you don't want too many, because then, and also when you repeat a course, you're showing to admissions, it took me a second time to do well in this course. And sometimes that happens. But then but it showed that I needed to take it a second time to show that I can excel. So what do I need to do? Take another advanced level course to show that you mastered the subject. And so there's ways to show that you are excelling in those core sciences in your pathway. But it's just that I want to remind candidates is yes, you have this goal, but also don't be in tunnel vision, because life is not a tunnel vision. You have to be very open-minded to the possibilities of what other health professional careers that you may be a great fit for you, but because you only saw or only thought of one career, that you feel that this is your only pathway to success. And it's not true. You have so much to offer. And so think of it as that your road path is not just a one-way road, one straight road, because it never is. Most of the people you hear successfully talk about their journey, they're not going to tell you it's a straight path. It's going to be like an interstate bypass at LA, where everything is just looped around. And sometimes you start off where you began, but don't think of that as a failure. Never think of that, because along the way, that journey, you've learned so much. And now you're going to continue on as a stronger candidate.
Well said, Hetty. She said everything that I wanted to say and then some. And this is coming from another former pre-health advisor, and I used to be a nursing admissions counselor too. So I know both worlds there, but what I see the most with pre-med students and when we receive applications and when people are asking questions about what about, if I did receive lower, GPA, it really depends on the person. You definitely want to, I'm going to plug Transfer Center and also your career centers. It was very helpful for me when I was in school. I went to a community college as well. Utilize your resources. They know what to do. They know exactly the schools that may be a better fit for you, but don't shy away from your experiences. Sometimes I see applicants that don't talk about, their academic difficulties, and it may have been because of a trauma or something that happened that you could not control. I'm more understanding of someone going through something in their life that affected their GPA versus me trying to make up a story in my head of what happened there. We see your transcripts. We're going to ask that question. I would rather you tell that story than me try to figure that story out for you. So don't let us try to tell that story. You have to tell us. Don't shy away from that.
Just add a little bit to that. I mean, echoing everybody's there. Sometimes my student will come with me like, I'm taking all these classes just to boost my GPA. My recommendation is don't take classes just to take classes. Take classes that will help you in that process. Whether you're taking a medical assistant class, maybe you're taking a medical terminology class that will help you. Go into more volunteer work if you have the time to do so. Because sometimes you'll be surprised with your mindset that I'm coming in, I want to be a nurse. But once you do, you see when you volunteers in a community, in a hospital, you'll be surprised what you can find out. And maybe at that point, you will think like, okay, this is definitely not me. Oh, yeah. That's coming a little bit from my experience. I was a pre-health major at one point in life. I was set for medical school. I was volunteers at Hoag Hospital for years. And then I realized at the end of the day, you know what, the life of a doctor is really not for me. Academics wise, I can handle it. It's not an issue. But after so many conversations with the physician, PA, and you kind of realize, hold on a second, this is not the life that I want for myself. That's another story altogether, but you'll be surprised. Again, like I said, my recommendation is if you are planning to boost your GPA by taking classes, don't take classes just to take classes. Take classes that it's meaningful for you, that will help you, even if the path to nursing is not ultimately happen, but a class that will help you in the futures, whether different pre-allied majors program or whatever that you will use in the future. Just don't take classes to take classes.
Thank you. Jeremiah, would you like to add?
I can add something for our selections committee because our admissions team does sit in on the decision making and listen in on that is we hear a lot about upward trends in grades. So maybe earlier on in your college career, you were taking classes and you had lower grades, but then more recently, right? So I know, taking post-bac courses can be a journey, right? It's not just 4 years or whatever. So let's say like your more recent grades, like within the last 4 to 5 semesters tend to be higher grades. Then that's actually really good. So what the selections committee is therefore looking for is they're looking for an upward trend in your coursework. They're looking to see that you as a student can handle the rigor of school, all right, PA school. You can also master these difficult science concepts. So think about what courses to take, and then also don't just take like one difficult science course at a time and get an A, but if you can take like 3 to 4 difficult science courses at the same time, that shows that you can not only master these difficult concepts, but that you can also handle the rigor of a heavy course load, which is more similar to what PA school is going to be like. So that's something that they like to see is that you can emulate and do well in a difficult healthcare setting or a course setting.
Thank you so much. And I do see some questions coming up in the chat, as well. And again, thank you so much, panelists, for keeping keeping it real, but also providing other options and avenues and other ways of thinking to, for our students to continue on the health in the healthcare field. There is a question here about opportunities for wellness coaches or integrative health coaches. Do any of your programs focus in or concentrate on wellness coaching? How about community health worker? I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly here, but again, this is relatively new for me too. Community health worker. What kind of programs or major would that be?
Yeah, and we do offer that program over at Coastline. And Jessica, I could answer that. I could answer that question for you. I'll send you some resources.
Thank you.
And Shanita, to answer your question regarding the, didn't want to take away from the panelists, but the administrative roles, we're actually gonna have a speaker later for the expert panel talking about more the clinical side of things. And at Coastline, we offer like a healthcare management. That's also one way around that.
Yeah, and thank you for leading this toward too, is that I am seeing more and more CSUs, for example, and maybe some of the private schools offering a little bit divergent here from direct patient care to indirect patient care, and that is through healthcare administration. So we do need people who have both a good science background in the biological sciences, but also have some of that business management side, as well. So for all of us too, right? To provide that good healthcare and wellness, you have to have a stable and firm organization, whether it be a clinic, community area, as well as large health facilities like Kaiser Permanente. They all need both great patient care as well as individuals who know how to run those healthcare organizations.
Yeah, and so in a few minutes, I'm gonna open the breakout rooms for the panelists, except for Agesha, she has to leave. And but I'm wondering, I'm actually curious, maybe one person could answer, and this happens a lot. So for example, one common trend we see with students, particularly like first generation college students, is not necessarily seeking out for help or taking advantage of their resources unless it's like a critical moment. Like, Helen, I need a transfer, my application is due tomorrow. Whoa. Or like Dr. Salcedo, I need a letter of rec. My application is due in 2 days. I barely know you for two months, but I need someone. I'm wondering, like, maybe one or two people just really quickly can provide advice for students for encouraging students to get help.
So I'll probably speak for many of us when I say that, it's very similar to the airplane. You can't help others until you help yourself, right? You put on your mask first. So nursing students struggle with this a lot, but we do have a lot of resources for our students. And we tell them all about it, but, ultimately it is up to the student to seek out that resource. Once you're admitted to the program, no one wants to see any student fail personally, professionally, or anything. That does not benefit the student. It doesn't benefit patients. It doesn't benefit us. It's not fun for anybody. So the worst thing for us that can happen is when it's the end of the semester and we find out someone has been struggling the whole time in silence. We really want to help. And so we check in with our students a couple weeks in, we check in at midterm, we're always, all of your faculty are nurses. So we're all checking in to see how the students are doing. And hopefully throughout the program of nursing school, students are learning how to reach out for the help that they need because we have lots of resources just waiting to be used.
Sharing. Okay, cool. So thank you, Helen, for facilitating this panel. Thank you for the panelists for joining this portion of the event. So at this point now, I'm going to open the breakout rooms.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Deborah Henry. I'm a professor of anatomy and physiology here at Coastline College. And I'm happy to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people here to talk about their what it's like to be in their career. So I have Rhonda, Denny, Christine, Elof, and Paul. And I think I'll start with Paul. Paul, so and this is the same question everybody's going to get in 1 minute or less. I don't know why we have 1 minute or less. Please introduce yourself, share your educational career journey, and what you are doing right now. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Henry. Yeah, so I'm Paul Dwight. Sorry for the kind of raspy voice, but yeah, so I'm a PA working in emergency medicine. I started out at UC Santa Barbara, where I met Paolo, actually, or Dr. Barquez. Yeah, so, and I studied biology there. Went to Toro University, California, so up in Northern California, Vallejo, where I got a Master's of Science in Physician Assistant Studies and Master's of Public Health. And then now I'm out doing emergency medicine in the East Bay.
That's really quick. Thank you very much, Paul. I'm going to go to Christine. I know Christine's a nurse. So Christine, tell us, introduce yourself, and share your educational career journey and what you are doing now.
Hi. So my name's Christine. I went to Baylor and I got my BSN there. I started working at the Dallas County Hospital as a PCU nurse, a progressive care nurse. Eventually transitioned to ICU through their residency program. And I've been doing that for the last almost 7 years in July. That's what I'm doing.
Okay. Thank you, Christine. Dr. Patel, what's it like being a physical therapist?
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Yes. So I went to Loma Linda and I did the bachelor's, a master's, and then a doctorate. So I have all three. And then I graduated in 1999. So I've been a physical therapist for 25 years now. So I'm still seeing patients, but I teach anatomy and physiology at Coastline and Cal State Fullerton. So the beauty is the flexibility of still seeing patients and being able to teach. And the journey was it was a long journey, but very rewarding. And I'll go into a little bit more a little bit later. But right now I see mostly outpatient, so knees, shoulders, and low back. Well, there you go.
Oh, you're just like my sister. She likes the orthopedic side of
Yes.
everything in PT. All right. So, Dr. Farhat, why don't you talk to us about your career?
Okay, hi, I'm Ila Farhat. I'm currently a professor, but I'm also a dietitian. So I also went to Loma Linda for my master's and PhD. And I started working, I got my bachelor's overseas and I was working as a dietitian. And then I came here after I got my master's. I worked at different hospitals. I started my career as a dietitian, like overseeing all the different units, inpatient. And then a few years later into it, I realized how much I love critical care, so the ICU. And I was an ICU dietitian for 6 years before I transferred to Coastline. Yesterday was Dietitian Day, so yes.
Yeah, kind of interesting to be on Pi Day, like we talked about. Rhonda, would you introduce yourself, share your educational career journey and what you are doing now?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Randa Wahid. I got my undergrad from Cal State Fullerton in health science. Sorry, I'm mixing up my undergrad and my graduate in health science. And then I went to Cal State Long Beach and I did my healthcare administration degree there. Got my master's degree there. And then started looking for jobs. The major I chose was very broad, so I could have gone into anything really in healthcare and on the business side of things. I got an interview with a clinical research organization, and I started my career in clinical research, and I've been stuck in it ever since. So it's been a little bit over 10 years. I started in patient recruitment, which I was recruiting patients to volunteer for clinical research studies, and then moved into business development. So I did a couple different things within the clinical research realm until I landed a project manager position. And so now I'm a senior project manager, and I manage like study startup through study closeout for specifically dermatology clinical research trials. And I work for a contract research organization. So we get hired on by pharmaceutical companies and biotech companies to run their clinical trials for them before they get FDA approved.
So what I love about that is to expand everybody's knowledge on healthcare careers just don't involve things in the hospital. And briefly, even though I'm not on this panel to talk about it, in case anybody wants to talk to me later in a breakout room, I got my medical degree at Baylor College of Medicine. I did my residency in neurological surgery, so as a neurosurgeon, I practiced that for 26 years, and I became a college professor permanently in 2012. So let's go into the next question, which to me is the best question of the whole thing, is briefly describe an overview of your typical day. And what I want to know is what you love about your job and what you would not care to do anymore in your job if you didn't have to. So what you like least about your job? So let's start with Danny. Danny, tell us about the best things about your job, your typical day, and the worst things about your typical day.
Okay, perfect. Well, of course, the best thing about my job is seeing patients and helping patients, right? I mean, that's the main reason that we go into healthcare. Typical day, when I had the clinic, I did sell my clinic to go into more in education. So when I had the clinic, and here's the reason my wife told me to sell the clinic, because I was seeing patients 7 to 7, 12 hours a day. So I would see typically new patients and then returning patients. But the flexibility in physical therapy is very good. I had some therapists that worked 8 to 5, some that worked 312s, the 410. So there is a lot of flexibility that you can do. I had some employees that were mothers as well, so they could work half day. So there is a lot of flexibility in physical therapy. Of course, as the owner, I didn't have any flexibility, so I was there pretty much all day, and that was one of the things that, to answer your question, what did you hate about the job, is running your own clinic. There's a lot of responsibility, and that the physical therapy does allow you to open your own clinic, which was one of the best things that I did. But then obviously now just working, per diem is actually really nice, because I can, after seeing patients, I'm done, go home and grade papers. Well, that's a different thing, but I really enjoy it. And there's a lot of pros to the field. And of course, that's why I love the field. So it's good.
That's so interesting, because speaking from a person who's also run a business, it's a whole different field as running a business versus just doing the healthcare part.
Absolutely.
Christine, tell us about your day and the good and the bad.
So the nice thing about being a nurse is every day is different. I sometimes will work as a charge nurse on my unit, and sometimes I staff on the unit, so it just kind of depends on the day. Our ratios are usually 2 to 1, so like I'll usually go in, I'll have 2 patients. Same thing that he said, that Denny said, the best part is being able to help patients, being able to help people on their worst days, things like that. I love the people that I work with, which is really nice. We work really closely with our fellows and our residents in the unit that I work with, which is also very nice for me, because they're always just right there if I need help or need anything. For me, the hardest part is always the emotional toll. In the ICU, you see a lot of people that are not doing great, that are dying, things like that, and that can be really difficult. But you also get really good stories and people who make it out, and you hear about them years later and they're doing great, and it's the best part.
It's interesting you say that, because if people ask me what's the things it takes to be a neurosurgeon, I would say 2 things. One, it takes stamina, because you can have very, very long cases. And 2 is it takes ability to ride an emotional roller coaster, because you can have great highs and you can have great lows, and have to be able to, unlike PT orthopedics, which is why my sister's in orthopedics, is she couldn't do neuro PT because she couldn't handle the long-term effects, long-term time it takes to get improvement in neuro. Where orthopedics, people are often driven and it doesn't take as long. So you have to fit your personality to your career. So I'm going to go to Rhonda. Rhonda, tell us about your typical day, the good and the bad.
Okay. That's actually really good advice to everyone, is that choosing a career that really fits your personality. So as I said, I moved into a lot of different niches within clinical research, and in my personal life, I'm very organized and I like to manage, so that I moved into project management and now I love it. And so on a day-to-day basis, I'm managing several different departments that run the clinical research study. So for example, clinical monitoring and data management and the medical monitoring team. So there's like 7 or 8 different departments that I'm overseeing to make sure that the study is running smoothly. And one of the biggest things is managing timelines to make sure that everyone is on time with their deliverables. So following up with everyone whenever things are due. And then budget, looking at budgets and the finances of the study and making sure that we're not going over budget. And if we are, requesting for out of scope. So it's a lot of timelines, budget, oversight, follow through with other people. So that's my typical day. I have a lot of meetings on my calendar daily, just checking in with all these departments and looking at risks, especially for patients. The most important thing is patient safety. So from a data management perspective or a medical monitoring perspective, or for all the different types of departments that we're overseeing, what are the risks that go into, that come out of seeing a patient with this condition and giving them this medication, and how we can mitigate those risks. So that's my day-to-day, is just constant oversight. Of course, the best thing about the best thing about what I do, to me, is that I know that I'm working on a medication for patients that may not have a solution to their condition. Although I'm not working directly with patients and I'm overseeing the projects, I still feel like I am giving back. I personally couldn't, maybe I was still really young, but I couldn't emotionally deal with working with patients directly after doing several internships. And like I interned at a skilled nursing facility in a hospital, and I felt like I needed to be a little bit behind closed doors. Maybe that changed now, but I'm here now. And then I think maybe the worst part, or what I don't like about it, is I'd say confrontation, because there's people that don't do their job and you need to follow through with them, and just being a bit more stern about when things need to get done, so that you can go back to the pharma company and the sponsor and my client, and let them know why we didn't get something done and the reasons, and what our plan is moving forward.
I think Rhonda made a very, very good point, is that another thing that helps you decide your career is how much you want to deal with patients, because there is so much in medicine that you don't have to deal with patients, or you can deal with them indirectly. And you need to decide, how comfortable do you feel with this every day? And it'll make joy in your day if you love working with it. It'll make your day miserable if you don't like working with patients. So you need to figure that out. In fact, that's one of the first things I think you need to figure out, is how much do I want to work with patients? And that will help you decide. There's so many careers in healthcare. Paul, tell us about your typical day, and the good and the bad.
Yeah. Yeah. So as an ERPA, I think the biggest like impetus for why I chose ER versus like other specialties, I think, was just the fast-paced nature, the ability to see high acuity cases, and then also the variety of patients. One of like the minor perks, not the top perk, is you make your schedule, so you can have like 4 days off, you can have a week off, and you can just travel. And I think at this age, for me, it's something that I try to make the most of, that sort of thing. Just trying to say something different than what other people have said. But I think the biggest pro to my day has to be just, working in an underserved hospital, you really see the patients, like the difference that you make in their lives. Like a lot of times if you work, it varies place to place, but depending like which patients you're working with, oftentimes the underserved patients are the ones who are most grateful, and really you can just see it in their eyes, even if they don't tell you that you really made a difference in their day. And then in terms of, I guess, maybe like any like downsides, I mean, I really like emergency department. I really like being a PA. If anything, sometimes they're like the expectations of like patient count, that sort of thing, where the business side kind of interferes with the medical side and finding the optimal quality, that sort of thing. But I mean, you have that in any sort of business. So I think that's just a little part of everything.
Thank you, Paul. Dr. Farrahat, do you want to talk to us about your typical day when you were at Kaiser?
Yes. So, because I was an ICU dietitian, or even like, let's say, just an inpatient dietitian, what's nice about it is that you have the flexibility to plan your day. So, for example, what I would do first is I would go in, log into the medical charts, get all the information of all the patients. And then I would go up to each patient and talk to them, provide them whether the education or assessment. And then I can go back and finish up charting. So my day was pretty flexible on how I want to do it. But as an ICU dietitian, like I had to prepare everything earlier in the morning to make time to go to rounds. And then that's the opportunity when you want to discuss changes or ask questions about the patient. And just also being an advocate for the patient. Sometimes you'd see a patient who was not fed anything, like not through PPN or so not through the veins or through tubes for like 7 days. So sometimes you have to be the advocate for the patient and say, okay, this patient needs to eat, not eat, like needs to be fed. Sometimes you'd have a doctor, as a physician, who would say, you know what, they're overweight. It's okay, leave them. They don't need to get anything. So you have to, and that's kind of the part that I don't like about the work is if they don't know you or they kind of undermine dietitians in general. A lot of healthcare professionals would think of dietitians as the kitchen person or the food person. Whereas in reality, let's say that patient was not fed for 7 days. You need to like stand there and tell them, okay, the patient needs to be fed. Even if the patient's overweight, it can cause malnutrition. So you need to prove yourself if they don't know you. Once you prove yourself, it's fine. But that's kind of the like how other healthcare professionals see dietitians in the hospital. So you just need to prove yourself. I also don't like working holidays or weekends, which is typical for most inpatient jobs. Inpatient jobs, which is basically you're working inside the hospital and you're seeing patients that are hospitalized rather than the patients who are coming into a clinic. I love interacting with patients. I love helping them. I love seeing that I can make a difference. I also love interacting with other healthcare professionals. For example, attending rounds, you get to learn stuff, whether it's about this patient specifically, but you also get to learn a lot of other things that as a dietitian, I would not otherwise learn. Like I would not learn how to read an x-ray or look at an x-ray, for example. But usually a lot of, especially if you work in a hospital that have students and residents, they like to explain everything. So I feel like I have a better medical background because of these rounds. So I love the interdisciplinary approach when it comes to working in a hospital. The other great thing about dietitians is that you do not have to work in a hospital, or 10 years, 15 years into it, you're like, okay, this weekend stuff is not working for me anymore for my lifestyle at the moment. You can switch to a lot of other things. You can work in sales and marketing for like Abbott and Nestle. You can also switch to an outpatient, whether you want to work with a specific group. For example, you want to work with overweight or diabetes or eating disorders, you can choose that. And you can also work in nutraceutical companies, whether you want to be like marketing there or more doing the presentations for them. So there are a lot of different career opportunities for dietitians rather than just immediate patient care. So I love that you have these different options. Even if I've been a dietitian for 10 years in inpatient, I could switch careers to a different area. I'm not stuck in one area. So that's also really nice. Or you could have your own business. So yeah, I like that.
Thank you. Thank you. So I want to say something about when you said prove yourself, because there were so few women neurosurgeons when I was practicing that was a problem too for me. So it's not just people, even if you're at the top of the food chain, you still sometimes have to prove yourself until people feel comfortable with you. And sometimes other people think they're the expert. So and they're not in your field, and they think they're the expert, and they actually tell you how to do a job, and you're just going, that's not going to work, right? So for me, the greatest joy was actually I love dealing with my patients. I loved operating, which was a big surprise to me because I did not go to medical school thinking I was going to be a surgeon, and I stayed out of the operating room for two weeks when I was on my surgery rotation because I really didn't want to go in. I didn't want to see blood. I didn't want to kind of see anybody. And I was really surprised how much I fell in love with it. And part of it for me was because you finish something. You start and you finish, and you can actually cure somebody with surgery, which doesn't always happen in internal medicine. I found out, so it was a real surprise to me. So remember to keep your options open because things may surprise you. All right, so our next question is, how has your profession evolved over time, and what trends do you see in the future? So I'm going to start with Christine. How has your profession evolved? How has nursing evolved, and what do you see in the future? That's a hard question, isn't it?
I was gonna say, I don't know if I have a great answer for that one. I know traveling was a really big thing, especially during COVID. A lot of nurses left bedside to do travel nursing and go around. I feel like a lot of traveling has kind of died down a little bit, like post-COVID. And people have kind of gone more back to the bedside or left bedside entirely to do other things. Um, I mean, I guess that might be the future, right? People are going back to the bedside. People are going back to school. You can get your master's, you can be like an advanced practice nurse, things like that. So,
What would be the reasons to go back and get your advanced degree?
so you get more autonomy, being a nurse practitioner. You can kind of work alongside doctors and stuff like that and be able to see patients in a different way than just bedside nursing would. Um, you also can specialize a little bit more in what you want, whether it's like nurse midwifery or being in acute care or critical care nurse practitioner, things like that. Being a CRNA, things like that.
You want to tell them what a CRNA is?
Oh, sorry. Certified registered nurse anesthesiologist.
Anesthetist. Anesthetist.
I was like, I can't think. I work night shift. I don't think I told anybody. I work night shift. I worked last night, so I'm a little sleepy.
I know that doing the graveyard shift is never to me. I'm with Elof over here. Is no graveyard shift either, right? No holidays, no weekends, no graveyard shift. Okay, all right, Dr. Patel, tell us about how you think your profession has evolved over time, and what trends do you see in the future?
Well, I think, from my standpoint, baby boomers are getting older, so there will always be a need for physical therapy. And I think the profession has evolved in the sense that we have more technology to help patients. We have more access. Now you can go in the home. So I'll go into a patient's home and see them 2 days after a total knee or total hip as well. The thing that has evolved, which is not the greatest, is paperwork. Before I could see a patient and maybe just write a manual chart doing well and then be done with it and do my paperwork in about 5 minutes. And now it takes me a little bit longer to justify why they actually need to come and see me. So that negative aspect of evolve, but everything else has been positive. As far as the trends for physical therapy, if you look at the trends, just like for nursing, PA, everything has gone up. I mean, people are living longer, so there will always be a need for nursing, PA, nurse, MD. I mean, you name it. Every healthcare professional, people are living longer, so the trends are, I think, positive. Unfortunately, you're going to have to spend more time justifying your treatment versus actually seeing the patient. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. You just deal with it and you look at the good stuff of all the healthcare. And like Dr. Henry said, I mean, there is a lot of aspects to healthcare. It's just not patient care. There's so many things around it. So you just want to make sure that this is the field for you, whether it's physical therapy, nursing, PA. It's you got to commit to it and just be happy that you chose that career. I mean, I'm very happy with what I did. I wouldn't look back and say I'd change, but that's it. That's it. I think if you're going to go into PT, the trend is good. I think for all healthcare, it's good. So you just got to make sure that that's what you want to do.
All right, Rhonda, why don't you tell us about the trends you are seeing in clinical management?
Sure. So from a project management perspective and what I do on a daily basis, I think the biggest trend, one thing's opposite of what Christine said, is we've moved into a lot more remote work versus being on site and in office and working with each other and having meetings in person. Even before COVID, I was working remotely, and I think the transition was that most companies have seen that people don't need to be on site and in front of each other's faces to have a meeting. So a lot of people have moved into remote work. We usually will meet each other or have like one global meeting at the beginning of a study just so that we meet face to face, or when I start a new study with a new client, I go meet them face to face. And then the remainder of the study, whether it's 6 months or a 3-year study, I don't see people that often, or maybe it's once every 6 months. There's obviously pros and cons to working remotely, but that's one huge trend from a PM perspective. And then the other thing within my position on a day-to-day is the systems that we use and technology. I've noticed in the last 10 years that I've been doing this, that we've been using a lot more advanced systems to streamline processes, both internally for tracking purposes and tracking KPIs, like key performance indicators, and what we need as a company to ensure that we're productive and efficient. And then also reporting back to our clients when it comes to medical monitoring or data management or a clinical monitoring perspective. All of that has that we've tried to use different systems to streamline the process. Not to say that it's easy. It's always difficult because we're constantly changing to become more efficient, and then there's a learning curve to that. But in the end, it's obviously beneficial all around. So those are a couple of things that have changed. And then from a clinical research perspective, it hasn't changed as much, other than maybe recruitment of patients has moved a lot with social media. Now they're using social media to bring patients into clinical studies, and just trying different avenues for recruitment purposes.
You know, when you said computer stuff, I was going to ask you about the learning curve for technology, because I find that often the most frustrating part for me personally is having to learn new technology when it's not very user friendly.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that when we have like company-wide meetings and people want to point out what they want to complain about the most, it's usually a system that they are not happy about. And it's usually the company doing their research for over several months to try to figure out what's the best system that we want to move to. And then, of course, it's an entire implementation process to get everyone to learn it and use it and understand it and hope for no turnover so that those employees are still using that system. So it's a lot that goes into it. But we've moved from, using Excel spreadsheets for everything to, cloud-based platforms where data is a lot more safe and readily available. So it's been a good change.
Thank you. Elif, you want to tell us about how your profession has evolved over the time and what trends you see?
Yeah, so I think a big trend in medicine in general, more specifically in nutrition, is the personalized medicine. So we're not offering as much as or the goal is to not offer everyone the same treatment, whereas there is more like now genetic testing, we call it nutrigenomics, and I know they do that in pharmacology too. So they have the pharmacogenetics. So they do test the people's genetics and to address the best type, whether it's for drugs or for nutrition. So I see a lot of trend on that. A lot of our conferences in general are about personalized medicine, personalized nutrition. So I think it's really great because then we're not all the same. So I do think this is a great trend in general. There have been, again, as everyone else said, there have been also, if you do not require to see patients, for example, the outpatient, a lot of them have switched to virtual. Because I mean, if you don't need to like touch the patients, for example, I mean, virtual works really well. So a lot of stuff have been virtual, whether it's the classes or the one-on-one meetings have been virtual. Whereas obviously at a hospital setting, we still do the nutrition-focused physical assessment where you assess the patient's edema, so how much fluids they have, if they have any muscle wasting. So with inpatient, it doesn't change much aside from new data. In general, new information, new research coming. Nutrition is an area that evolves a lot with research. Newer research will put other research behind, like most of the healthcare industry, really. So it's just the new practices. You always need to be up to date with everything. And then guidelines change based on that.
I remember when the hormone leptin was discovered, and people thought that was going to be the cure of obesity until they realized eating is much more complicated than one hormone. All right, Paul. Paul, tell us about the trends in physical assistant, physician assisting. Sorry, I'm trying to take the physical therapy and assistant together.
No worries. Yeah. So, I mean, I've been in the profession for about a year, so I don't know that I can speak like generally to all the changes I've seen. But obviously we started out more like kind of a military corpsman kind of situation, and now transitioned to a like pretty similar to the duties that like a physician would perform, depending on the setting you're in. I guess surgery would be a big exception, that sort of thing. But in terms of where it's going in the future, that sort of thing, obviously, so as Elaf was saying, just incorporating new genetic approaches, there's a lot of work being done in that, both in genetics and also, I guess, like AI, to help develop kind of ways of detecting cancer, that sort of thing. I understand there are people, I know AI is kind of like a depressing topic sometimes, but in terms of like some people are developing like algorithms for, what is the most common presentation of like this kind of condition, that sort of thing, and incorporating that into our treatment plan. And then I think going forward, I know some offices are, doing like AI recorders that can help with our efficiency in terms of documenting notes for patient encounters, that sort of thing. And just, I think that's the biggest area we would have for growth, is in terms of seeing like what is AI going to do, to help synthesize data, to help increase the efficiency of our encounters, and then hopefully, I don't know, more streamline our treatment plans and that sort of thing, but without losing the personalized aspect that Elaf was talking about, that I think would be very tough to incorporate into AI. So I think that's where I could see the profession going in the future.
Well, that's an interesting topic, Paul. The good, the bad, the ugly of AI. We could have a whole panel discussion on that. For me personally, what I've seen happening over the past at least several years is the need for advanced degrees anymore. It's like PT has gone from, my sister has a bachelor's degree because she was a physical therapist a long time ago and has moved to a doctorate. Nutrition's moved to a doctorate. As Christine said, a lot of nurses now go for their master's degrees. So there's been a huge trend to move to more advanced degrees. In the interest of time, I'm going to put question number 4 and 5 together. So what is your advice and encouragement for students considering healthcare careers? And do you have any financial suggestions on how to pay for their education? Because this is a barrier for a lot of people. It was a barrier. It would have been a barrier for me, except for I ended up going to a school that was relatively inexpensive because Texas oil industry was really good at the time and they were funding medical schools. So what advice would you give our students concerning a career in healthcare, and encouragement, and how should any advice on how they could pay for it? So who haven't I started with before? I think I haven't started with Elaf. Elaf, do you want to talk about that?
Sure. So I did go to a private school, but luckily I had the scholarship. So there are a lot and I'm on a scholarship committee at Coastline. So I see how many scholarships we have, and I see that students don't take advantage of it. A lot of students have the mentality of, no, other people probably would deserve it more than I do. Other people have more financial hardship than me. I applied for scholarships and I got really good scholarships. So I think that's always something you want to consider and try to go for. Also, I would say, like, I always tell my students, just go to Cal State, go to, like, there still would be great education. I have my coworkers, when I worked at Kaiser, I worked in Kaiser Riverside, so most of my coworkers went to Loma Linda University. And they were like in their 40s, 50s, and they were still paying student loans. So I would say and when you get into college, no one really tells you don't take student loans. They just tell you, here, get all the student loans you want. So I just always advise my students to try not to take too many students loans where they have to pay for it for a really long time. And from what everyone talked about, really, it seems like when it comes to healthcare, there is something for everyone. So whether you like being with patients or not, whether you love this bedside, or if you just maybe love bedside for a while and then you don't, there is the option for everyone. So I would just say, like, figure out what you like, your personality, like Rhonda said, like, figure out how your personality works with the career in healthcare, and then pick something that really works with your personality.
Thank you. Rhonda, you want to talk about encouraging students and finances?
Sure. So piggybacking on what Elaf was saying, also as a student, when you're first starting out, you may not even know exactly what you like and how your personality is. And you may just like start a job and then realize that, hey, I don't like this. And then you move on to something else and you realize I don't like this. So it might take a few years, but I think my main advice is don't let that discourage you, because as a student, you're still young, you still have time to figure it out. Even if you switch jobs 3 or 4 times, you're likely still going to be under 30 years old if you're starting school, like right after high school, for example, and you're starting college right after. You have time to figure it out and get your feet wet and figure out exactly what you like. And then when you do find out what you're really passionate about, then you also have time to create that as your baseline and move your way up in the industry that you're in. So don't be afraid of doing several different types of internships or even different jobs to land on, where you feel most comfortable. And like you hear from so many people, some people major in something and then end up doing something completely different. So that's also an option. Obviously, the best thing is if you really know what you like and you worked on yourself and starting somewhere and growing yourself, then that's the best way to go about it. But don't be afraid to fail and move on to something else and learn from your mistakes. And then from financial perspective, I think Elaf said the right thing, just looking into scholarships. I made that same mistake. I thought, there's no way I'm not going to qualify for this scholarship, or I'm too busy applying for different universities. I'm not going to apply to this scholarship and waste my time. But I regret that now. And after researching it more, there are so many different scholarship opportunities that you can apply to, and it doesn't hurt. Just apply to all of them and see what you get, even if it's a few $100s here, a few $100s there. Any little bit makes a difference when you're a student trying to pay for a college career.
Thank you. Thank you. Paul, tell us about your encouragement and how you paid for PA school.
Yeah, so I mean, in general, I guess going off of both Rhonda and Elaf, like really good advice, just immersing yourself in a variety of different opportunities to figure out what is right for yourself. Like for me, I considered, PT, I considered med school, also like a public health, urban planning, dual degree, master's, just getting exposure and putting yourself out there, which is sometimes like super challenging and super intimidating, but really like the people in those professions are going to know like they were in that position at one point, just like you, and they want to help you and, at least give you an insight to whatever extent that they can into getting you into the profession that's right for you, that sort of thing. And I guess another advice is just, it's not going to be easy. I guess specifically, I mean, no healthcare profession is easy, but especially PA, it's super rigorous, applying to schools, very low acceptance rates. Like don't even look them up because people will probably get really scared, that sort of thing. But if you really want it and are really willing to dedicate yourself to getting in and commit yourself, just keep pushing yourself. Keep strengthening your resume, stay loyal to who you are, and things will probably work out. And once you're in, like schools want you to succeed. They want you to get through and become a PA. So really just trusting yourself, but also having your community and, accessing other resources, asking people who are in certain professions, and also working with your fellow students to kind of get you through the whole program is really big. In terms of financial aspects, I would say like scholarships are like the number one answer. I'd say I don't know that I have anything significant to add there. Certain programs, like for example, I think like USC has a bunch of scholarships. My school, Toro, has a bunch of scholarships. Also, there are just, if you just go on Google and look up a bunch of like different scholarships, there's probably a scholarship that pertains to each person. So I think really just looking that information up, and, even like Instagram or something, you can find influencers from any school, like asking them, oh, what financial options did your school have, that sort of thing, really connecting with those students. Some of them are going to be more willing to respond to you than you might expect. Just using your network and going from there.
Yeah, I want to make a comment on something you said, Paul, that really surprised me when I got to medical school. Was that when I was in college, it felt like cutthroat, right? Everybody's battling against each other, and the colleges, especially in pre-medical programs, they don't really want you to. They want the cream to rise to the top, and everybody else could just go home, right? Once I got into medical school, I was surprised at how that changed. They want you to succeed. As I say, the person who graduates last in medical school graduates with an MD, right? Doesn't matter where you are. They work so hard to make you successful, which was just a different attitude than college was for me. So once you get in, you will have resources to help you succeed. So Dr. Patel, tell us.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off everybody, of course, we're all on the expert panel. We want to encourage you to go into healthcare. So, and then choosing the career that you like is definitely something that you have to, talk to a lot of people. Like Paul was saying, go volunteer and see what you like. As far as payment, Loma Linda was very expensive at the time, and I did apply for some scholarships. And there are a lot of scholarships for sure. But then some schools, even private schools, if your parents make under a certain amount, sometimes you get a full ride. So there are, like, I think, I forget what it is. I think Stanford and Yale, if your parents make under a certain amount, they pay for your full tuition, I think. But some graduate programs they don't pay for, but the undergrad program they do. One thing that I do advise is that when you do graduate, a lot of my friends, after they graduated, they started buying cars and started doing all this stuff. I actually just saved the money and just kept paying off the loan. So then, so once you graduate, these school loans don't go away. So make sure that you're paying it off, and maybe dedicate the first few years to paying that off instead of just kicking the can further down. Because, like I was saying, that loan doesn't go away. I don't want to be in my 40s and 50s and have 50,000 school loans. See if you can pay that off, a big chunk of it right now. Maybe stay with your parents if you have that option for a while and pay that off. I know it sounds you're like, that's why I want to graduate, but hey, you want to be debt free as soon as possible. So
I couldn't agree more. Invest in yourself first. I mean, the stuff is always there. Stuff is stuff. All right, Christine, tell us.
I feel like everyone said it all. I definitely agree with scholarships. I also know that if you have a specific place that you want to work at, sometimes those places will also help you pay for school and stuff like that. I know my hospital will help you if you go back to school, like to get your advanced degrees and stuff like that. They'll help you pay for certain classes and things like that, just based on like what grade you make and things like that, reimbursements and stuff. So looking into that kind of thing is also helpful. But yeah, words of encouragement. I always encourage people to ask questions. Just being able to ask people what they like about their job, things like this, doing this panel, and just, yeah.
Thank you. All right, I think we're going to do the breakout rooms, right?
We also invite a lot of our university admission advisors. So the panelists you saw today, they come and talk about the admission process, what they look for in a candidate. So even if your profession wasn't here today, we oftentimes invite those other schools to come and talk to the students about how to get into their programs. And we also have a lot of community involvement. We work with a lot of various organizations, for example, Cope Health Scholars Program, and Share Ourselves, which is one of the nonprofit organizations that we work with intimately here at Orange County, to provide students with lots of volunteer services. Okay. One of our major goals of the club is to get students to get out there and do volunteer work and community outreach. Every year we have lots of community service involvements where students can sign up and gain lots of volunteer opportunities, and community services, which looks great for candidates. Our goal is not only to teach our students, but also to make them better candidates. And one of the best ways to make you a better candidate is to get you out there, get you that life experience that you need to discuss in your interviews and to put in your personal statements. So during the COVID era, we did have a lot of students going out there in the fields, getting people vaccinated. So here are some pictures of those. We do a lot of food drives, food pantry drives, a lot of community outreach. If you come to the club, you'll learn all about the differences, the many different opportunities we have for volunteer work. Okay. And it is a club, so we do a lot of social engagement, right? Sometimes as a student, you need to just unwind, right? Get out of class and do something fun. So we have lots of social engagement. We have things like bake sales, right? We have things like chair yoga, right? To help kind of de-stress ourselves from our daily activities. We do a lot of fundraising to help build money for fun events, pizza parties. This next Friday, we're going to Knott's Berry Farm as a club. So we do a lot of fun things as well to kind of help you unwind throughout your day, okay? And we also do basic life support and CPR certification. Those can be very expensive, but we usually have good discounts for students to get those kind of things. And we do a lot of college-sponsored events too, blood drives, beach cleanups, and of course, the big Knott's Berry Farm event that we're doing next week, okay? If you want to learn more about the club, we do have a email. Our email is coastlinepremedclub@gmail.com. We do have a very active Discord where we put up all of our activities, our events, or information about all of our upcoming meetings. And we meet via Zoom every other Friday. Here is our list of meeting dates. And we're actively looking for new officers too. So if you are wanting to become an officer, we do have some officer positions available. Being an officer is very good to have on your resume because it shows programs that you have, leadership skills, you have social skills, things that they're looking for in students nowadays. Okay, so I don't want to take up more time, so I'll go ahead and hand it off to Dr. Hare.
Thank you, Dr. Dan. Let me see if I can share my screen. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Hare. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about more of the broader perspective of STEM offerings here at Coastline. And we're at the tail end of a scholarship that we had been offering over the last couple of years that I would like to share with you as well. So as you have probably heard today, there are many ways to pursue your career in healthcare sciences and to become a practitioner, especially if you're looking towards graduate work. You may choose from many different types of degrees on your path. Very commonly, a lot of our students will complete a 4-year degree in something that's a little bit easier to gain admission to, like maybe health sciences, for example. And then they will do some of their prerequisite courses with us at Coastline. I'd like to introduce another way to approach your journey into the healthcare sciences, and that's by earning an associate's degree for transfer that would guarantee you a spot at a CSU to earn your 4-year degree related to that career pathway that you might be pursuing. So, for example, if you wanted to go to medical school, you could enter a 4-year degree program under any of these degrees here. And you would have had the preparation at Coastline by completing our associate's degree for transfer that has a direct articulation into one of the CSUs. So at Coastline, we currently offer an associate's degree for transfer in chemistry, biology, mathematics, environmental science, geology, and physics. And what these degrees will add to your regular associate's degrees is they'll more closely align with the preparatory classes that your 4-year college would want you to have already accomplished before they're going to guarantee you a seat there. Similarly, UCs have a TAG program. And before I get any further into our STEM degrees, if I have any juniors out there in high school who are thinking about attending a UC, the UCs are working on accomplishing a very similar pathway that is kind of a merger between the associate's degree and TAG. And I encourage you to apply in your senior year to that UC of your dreams, of your goals, regardless if you think you can get in at that time or not. Because what the UCs are going to start doing is send you to one of us if you don't get in right away, but still guarantee you a seat in their program as long as you follow certain steps. Those certain steps and that coursework would be very close to this associate degree transfer model. So again, take home message for UC destined juniors and below at high school level, apply anyway. They will be working on a pathway that is, again, similar to these associate degrees with us to guarantee you a spot there. Over the past couple of years now, we have had funding from the National Science Foundation to provide scholarships for these degrees. So if you're pursuing an ADT in one of those STEM fields, you could be eligible for up to $15,000 a year. It's likely going to be 5 semesters of coverage, depending on your progress. That progress we try to facilitate by working very closely with your academic counselor to develop an individualized academic plan. We assign you a faculty mentor, so your STEM professors will be paired with you to help you as well on your pathway. We have tutoring we can direct you to, and a lot of inquiry-based research and industry type opportunities to help you prepare actual hands-on skills in order to persist. We have finished the 23-24 year award for these scholarships. We will be opening it this spring for at least one more round for a couple of additional scholarships. You can use this QR code to get more information, and I will also put a direct link in the chat box. And although the scholarship isn't open at the moment, we do have a spot for you to enter your name. So there's the link directly and your info so that we can contact you when we do have that scholarship application open for our 24-25 scholarship year. Some of the research opportunities and industry-related opportunities we have are pictured here. We offer those in many of our majors courses, such as Biology 185, Diversity of Organisms, which is usually what people will take as their second part of their biology major progression. We also offer a research-based course called Work-Based Learning, or it will be now changed to Work Experience Education. And those types of opportunities include, you can see over here on your left, we're working on antibiotic discovery. So we're collecting the microbiome from sponges at Back Bay Science Center, where we also do marine life inventories monthly. So we have a biotech kind of a perspective, and we also have an ecological perspective through those activities that you can engage in individual original research on. We also have many 3D printers. A lot of our work experience education students are now working on printing prosthetics for children. Up in this top corner here, we had taken a break from that during COVID and worked on developing personal protective equipment. I forgot what the PPE stood for a minute there, but we were working on making different designs of face shields to use during our COVID time. And we also have a lot of field work opportunities that you can engage in. Again, it's termed work-based learning in our catalog now. You may be looking for that in the future as work experience education, WEE instead of WBL. Here's a field site where we're collecting and we're monitoring the contents of the microbiome within the aquatic system there. We also sample the soil in these regions to look for potential antibiotic producing bacteria as well. So if you were to engage in Bio 291, 292, your outcomes would focus on helping you to evaluate your education and your career pathway. So investigating a little bit more how best to complete that pathway and which part of the pathway you might be best fit for. And part of that is going to be experienced as you engage in research in the laboratory and in the field. We also hope to publish some of our findings in scholarly publications, peer-reviewed journals, and we also have a few internship opportunities. For example, we work with a couple of physical therapy clinics that are always looking for volunteer work that could lead to paid employment. And we also have some opportunities to work on environmental science and restoration at the adjacent property that is directly behind the Newport Beach Center. So again, here's that information for the scholarships. Here are a few contacts for people to reach out to at our different departments within STEM. And again, I put in the chat the direct link for your information for the scholarship there. Thanks so much for your time, and feel free to send any questions my way.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Harry, Dr. Salcedo, for really informative information. And for the students here, definitely take advantage. I know we shared a lot here, but it's really up to you to make that move, because we can only give out so much. Like, you have to be the one that actually like reaches out to us, because like we can't read your minds, and we want to help you. Like, you, as you hear from many of us, we actually do care about you. We want to help you, but you have to be the one that reaches out to make that connection.
No, I just want to say thank you all for coming, and thanks for, taking an investment in your future. We appreciate you guys being here.
And I guess for the people that are still here, I'm wondering, how was this event for you?
Thanks. It was helpful. It was informative. Got me to ask some questions too that I hadn't already thought of. So yeah, I think it was a good use of my time. So thanks everyone for donating yours.
Thank you for attending.
Thank you. Information is power. And whenever I can get information, I really appreciate it. I appreciate your time and your expertise. Thank you very much.